Hello and a huge welcome to Pride Parkway. I'm Jeff and this is my Engage loft layout. To those of you who are new here, a huge welcome to all the new subscribers, and to those of you who are following my journey, welcome back. Layout is progressing really well. I've been busy, stuck in the house like most people, and using the time to catch up on a few jobs that needed doing. So the first one of those was finishing installing all of these lights in the town and industrial scene. If I move to one side, you can see I've now got all the street lights and all the building lights all connected. Wasn't a difficult job, it was just a little bit of a pain being on my hands and knees under the baseboards for hours on end with the soldering iron, but that's all done. So I'm really pleased with that. The TMD has kind of ground to a little bit of a halt, but I'll be coming back to that very soon. But in the meantime, I have been getting the point motors right the way through the station area and all of them in the TMD in. There's quite a lot of them to be done, and I've also took the opportunity to install the platforms properly and do a whole load of work on the platforms as well. So this video is a little bit about point motors, but mainly about the platforms. I hope you enjoy it. As always, please do comment, like, share. If you've got any suggestions, anything you think I could change, do let me know down in the comments below. I'll always take these things on board, and if I like the sound of them, I'll act on them. The next video from me is going to be on signals. I want to get 4 signals, colour light signals, in this station area. They're Engage signals. I've never installed them on any of my previous layouts before, so that'll be my next video, and I'm hoping to get that up pretty quick. I'm hoping to get those signals on this weekend, because as soon as I get them in place, I can then start looking at the rest of the track detailing, which will then allow me to move on to getting more detail put into this TMD and diesel yard. Sorry, TMD and DMU yard even. Don't know what a diesel yard is. Brain's going to much too much time in the house. But as I say, let's jump straight into the video and I hope you enjoy it. Cheers guys. Hi guys, welcome back to the loft, and time for something a little bit different to what I've been working on. So as you know, I've been working on the TMD area over here, and there's still lots of work to be done over there, but the big thing that I needed to get done was I needed to get the point motors put in before I could continue with the scenic work. I needed to be sure that the polarity and if any problems with any points that needed to come up and so on, that all needed to be done before I could start putting ballast down. So it took me a week and a half. Every evening I have been under here, which hopefully I can get the camera to adjust to show you. We go up, there we go, and I have installed all 11 Cobalt IP Digital point motors from DCC Concepts. So they are all installed and they are all working. I'm going to link up in the top corner and down in the description below the video that I used to kind of teach me how to install these. I'm not sure if teach is the right word, but kind of to understand how to install them and the self-centering and changing the polarity. And once you get your head around that, it's actually not a bad job installing these. I think the bit that's hard is getting your head around it and working out how it works with your particular controller. Remember, I'm a Gauge Master, Prodigy Advanced. Now at the moment I'm just going to be working all of these point motors using the controller, the handheld controller. Each one's got a number and I will just control them like that. Eventually I'm going to build a panel so I can control all the points with a push button, but that's not for just yet. The other thing was, because I was on doing the point motors, I've actually got 6 points in the station area, so I decided to continue down this area and install all of those point motors as well. You can see some of the points there. So I've installed all of them. They're all wired together in pairs, and that means that with one address I can change them together, and I will show you that now. Let me just show you how that works. So as well as installing them, I also decided to get the old rust paint out and to rust this track down here as well. While I was doing that, I realized that actually I needed to realign some of the tracks, because I'll put a picture in now, a photograph, and basically there was a kink right in the middle there where the metal ruler is on the picture, which was bringing the trains a little bit too close to the platform. So I fixed that. And then I thought, while I'm on down here, let's get the platforms done, because they're not glued down and I'm constantly knocking them, and that then derails trains and starts causing problems. So basically what I'm saying is I've left the fiddle yard for a little while and I've turned my attention to the platforms, because I thought, if I get them done and get them glued in, actually when it comes to ballasting and track detailing over in this area, I can just do the whole thing all at the same time and work right the way down through the station. So that's the plan. So let's have a look at my platforms. I have 3 platforms on the layout. I have 2 concrete tracks here, which is my 2 fast lines, which is going to be electrified, and then I've got the 2 slow / branch lines over here, which is the wooden style sleeper. The idea being that this track hasn't been replaced yet. This is being replaced to be a nice new modern concrete track. My platforms themselves, they are using the Pico platform edges, and you can get them in brick, stone or concrete. And I have this back platform is concrete, this one, middle platform, is also concrete, and then I've used a stone on this front platform. The reason I did that for was because I already had that picked up at different places and off the old layout, a mixture of concrete and stone, and I didn't want to waste it, so I decided to use both. Now my station building, which is the scale scenes kit, if I grab that, that is stone as well, so that will tie in with this platform, with platform 1, and then we've got the concrete at the back. Now what I originally did was just put these together very quickly, just so that I had some kind of platform. And the way these are constructed is the Pico edges, and I just use a little bit of Revel adhesive just to fasten each one of them together, and then they are braced with some pieces of balsa wood, and then we have some 2mm grey board on the top here as well. It's all just glued in using rocket car glue. The rocket car glue works really well on the balsa wood and the cardboard, and you can see here I've just cut out some little nicks. Hopefully you can see that, some little notches. The idea being, originally I was going to run a length of wire down here, I think like a bus wire, to connect all the platform lights to it, but I'm not sure yet how I'm going to do the lights, so I want to get these platforms glued down, and then I'll just drill straight through and do the lighting under the baseboard. Now, what I've got on here is, I think it's scale scenes, brick paper, not brick paper, paving slab paper on the top of these. And I'm not keen on it. I've not been keen on it since I put it down, which is the other reason why I stopped work on the platforms. Now, you can probably see in this video, the back platform is done. I have decided what I'm going to do, and I've done that platform, and now I'm going to do these 2. So what I'd originally done on these concrete ones on the outside here, I had painted it with some of this awful, in my opinion, concrete coloured paint, which is far too light and far too cream, and then I just put a little bit of a black wash over it, just down the edges here you can see, just to kind of weather it up a little bit. On this stone one, now what I use as my base colour for all of the stonework that I do is this Humbrol acrylic paint, and it is 237 Desert Tan, and that's a pretty good stone colour. I didn't want my stone to be grey, and it's actually the base colour of all these retaining walls. That's the very first thing I use, is this. So I thought I'd make this video and I'll show you me converting these platforms into how I want them to be. If I move the camera and zoom in to the one that I did yesterday, just get the camera right in and focused. There you go. Hopefully you can see there the tarmac paint effect that I've done on the top. Then we've got the network rail edging, and we've also got a very fine yellow line. I'll get the camera to focus a little better. Hopefully you can see that a little better there. And that's glued in as well now. That's dried overnight. Trains are running in there lovely, straight past it. So let's focus our attention. We'll start with the concrete surface on the top of these 2 platforms. Once we've got the concrete / tarmac surface, then we'll get the sides painted, then we'll get the network rail edging on, and then we'll get the yellow warning stripe as well. The one thing I haven't got on these platforms that I would have loved is some little mind the gap signs. Possibly a little bit too modern for my era, but nobody makes them. They're just too small. Not even Scale Model Scenery make them, so hopefully maybe some point in the future they'll get added, but for now let's just get the platforms in. So let me grab the bits and pieces that I need and we'll start work on them. Okay, so the basis for getting these surfaces on these platforms is going to be pretty much the same as what I did on my hard standing. With the hard standing I wanted more of a concrete look, where this I want more of a tarmac look. So I want a little bit less grey, so I won't be adding stone colours. But back to my favourite 3 grey paints that I use on the hard standing. So I have got, this is just Artist acrylic, I've got slate grey, I've got storm cloud grey, and I've got Amish grey, and I've got the good old kitchen cheapo washing up scrubbers that have just been torn into pieces to use. And I'm just going to use the dabbing techniques exactly the same as I did on the hard standing. Now I did one of these platforms yesterday, so I wanted to have a play around off camera until I got something that I was happy with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the darkest colour, the slate grey. Then I'm going to go over it with a storm cloud grey, which is the medium colour. Then I'm going to go over it with the Amish grey, which is the lightest grey, and then right at the end I go back over it again with the slate grey. I want to do this while they're wet, so one on top of the other so that they all blend in, and don't want to use a brush on this because I don't want any brush marks in it. So again, just using the sponge, and I'm literally just going to dab the paint on to make sure that I don't get any brush marks anywhere. So I'll set the camera up now on a time lapse, and I'm going to get the top surface of both of these platforms done. It's pretty quick, it's probably going to take me no more than 15-20 minutes, but obviously on time lapse this will take literally seconds for you to see. So let's get that going right now. And there we have it. So that's all 3 colours on the platforms put on top of each other. So we went from the darkest colour, mid colour, light colour, and then dark colour. And I was predominantly dabbing with the sponges, except in the last pass I did some swirls as well as some dabs, and then where I swirled I dabbed over it as well, just to kind of give this unneat appearance. Now I'm going to leave this to dry, and then I might come back to it and I might get a little bit more of the dark colour on, but we'll wait and we'll see whether I'm happy with it once it's dried. It's quite a thick layer of paint. I've put 4 layers of paint on there, so it does need a little bit of time now to dry. What we're trying to achieve is this texture that I have at the back there. Now you can buy textured papers, you can buy a tarmac paper. The issue I find with tarmac papers is trying to hide the lines where each A4 piece of paper is joined is really difficult, and these platforms are really long. They're long enough to fit in a 7-car HST, so that would be a lot of joints, so that's why I'm doing it this way with paint. So the next thing, while that is drying, I'm going to start to prepare my platform edges, which is this right here. And to do that I am using a Scale Scenes product. Let me just pop the camera down while I grab it. And not Scale Scenes, sorry, Scale Model Scenery, sorry. This is it, it's Scale Model Scenery, and it is, let's lift that camera up a little bit. That's better. Scale Model Scenery TX142. N being N gauge, because remember that's what I'm modelling in, but you get this in 00, and this is basically, if I can get it right in the light, this is the platform edging. So we need to head down to the workbench and we need to start cutting this out. Now you can see I'm going to need a lot of these when you compare it against the platform cut out. So while this paint's drying, I'm going to stick a bit of YouTube on and get these cut out. But before I do that, let me show you the very first one and how I do these. Okay, so in the pack of these N-gauge versions, you get 2 sheets of these. I can't remember how much they were, but they weren't very expensive. And I need to get these cut out. Now, you can see here, there's some little arrows, and that indicates where you need to score. So the white bit's going to be on top of the platform, sorry, the grey bit's going to be on top of the platform, and the white bit's going to be a platform edging. So I cut each one out, I score, I just use the craft knife and a metal ruler, you score along where that red line is, and that's how you need to cut it out. Now the only thing I find with this is it's got too much white for what I need. So that white is 6mm, from here to there is 6mm. I only keep 3mm, so it's whatever you want, it's your layout at the end of the day. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that out, score that, and then cut that, so I only actually have 3mm of it. And here's a little offcut from the platform that I did yesterday. So there we have, let me put it on my hand so you can hopefully see a little better. There we have the top area, which is going to sit on the platform, and then the white area is folded over and that will wrap around the edge of the platform. And because I'm using these Pico platform edges, I only need 3mm. So that gives me a little bit on top of the platform where the fold is, just there. Hopefully you can see that. You see that? Yeah. And the rest of it will be wrapped around underneath. So I'm going to get these cut out. I'm going to need loads of these cut out. I've bought 2 packs of these, so I've got 4 sheets. I'm probably not going to need much less than that, so let's get it cut out and then I'll come back to you. Right, so I've gone back across this now one last time, and I've used that darker colour again from my palette, and just kind of done one more coat with this one, the darker one of the 3 colours. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to start work on the side of the platforms. So remember, we've got the concrete one here and we've got the stone one here. So concrete one first of all, I'm going to be using a mixture of 2 different paints, and they're Vallejo paints that I'm going to be using, and those paints are Aggressor Grey and Medium Gunship Grey. The reason I'm using these 2 is just because I had a little play around yesterday and ended up liking these 2 colours together. What I actually bought, which is quite a good tip, is rather than buying loads of individual ones of these, if you can find any of the sets, it will work out a lot cheaper. So I bought this set a while back from probably Amazon, is where I get a lot of stuff from, but this has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bottles in it, and I think it was about £10. So it's really good value, and it just gives you a good selection of greys. I just find that I use a lot of different shades of grey, so to have something with this choice works really well. And then you get everything from a silvery grey, you've got like a blue grey, a fawny grey, so there's a good choice there. So as I say, the 2 that I'm using, and all I'm going to do is, again, I just took a bit of cardboard and I'm going to squirt a mixture of the 2 half and half onto here, so just something like that. And I've obviously given these a good shake already, and that into the middle of it. And then all I'm going to do is paint it on and dab it off, and the reason I'm doing that for is so that I don't get brush marks in this. I'm not going to worry about the old weathering and old paint that was on there from before. I'm just going to go straight over the top. So paintbrush, paint it on. Can you see? Yes, you can. Paint it on, get right along. And then once I've got this on, and don't worry about this edge because we're going to be wrapping that with paper, and then all I do is just get a sponge again and I just dab over the top, and that just takes away the brush strokes from it. Nice and simple. And again, it's just a bit of washing up sponge that I've torn off. So I'm going to crack on with this. Now this platform is the middle platform, so it's going to have trains accessing it from both sides, from 2 different lines. So that means I need to do both sides of this, of the concrete. So I'll get that done, and then I'll come back to you and we'll turn our attention to the next step. So all of that paint now has had some time to dry on the sides. I'm happy with that, how it's gone on. And the next job now is to get some weathering added to this as well. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it like a wash. And so I've took a cup, and here is some that I made up last night. Basically all we have in there is some water, a drop of some black artist acrylic paint. This is just cheap stuff from the works, and if you're in the UK, that's where I get that from. And then I've also added a few drops of this Rail Match, what is it, 2403, which is roof grime. And then I just mix that up, as I say, with a little bit of water in a cup, and it's kind of like a liquidy soup kind of mix. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to go along with the brush that on onto here, let it run, and just dab it off / dab it in. Now this here is a makeup sponge, so it's much finer than the washing up sponges that I use on the concrete surfaces and so on. They feel a bit strange, these things, but they work really well, and they're cheap as chips. I'll pick up this big bag that I've got here from Poundland. So really cheap, really easy. So all I'm going to do is get the wash on a brush, get it on like this, and then work on quite a big section at once, and then just using the sponge and just dab it like that all the way along. And hopefully camera's picking up the very slight difference that there is between the two areas. Yeah, you can see that in the camera, and you can see the wash is just sitting right in all these areas between each of the pillars on the concrete. So I'm going to do that. I'll give it all one coat, have a little look, see what I think of it, and it probably will get a second coat. I'll definitely give the platform that I did yesterday, the test one, 2 coats. So we'll do that. It's quite watery, it's quite warm up in the loft. Things are dry and really quick. I've been up here all day. I've had the radiator on up here. It's been a nice sunny March day outside, so things are dry and nice and quick. So I'll get that done, and then I will come back to you. And there we have it. The black wash has been put all the way down there, 2 coats of the black wash, and it just gives that nice murky, dirty look on the side of all of that concrete. So I'm going to leave that now to dry fully. I'm probably going to leave that overnight because time's marching on today. But before that, I want to get the stone pavement done, stone platform, and then that can also be left to dry overnight. So you can see the texture here that we have of the stone, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to pick out a few of the stones, and then we're going to give it a black wash, and it will magically be transformed into stone, just like what I've got on my retaining walls at the back there. This is one of them processes that when I first started doing it, it just didn't look right, and I really didn't think it was going to work, but trust me, it does work. So there's no set colours that you need to use here. Now remember, this was already given a coat of that Humbrol paint that I showed you earlier, the Desert Tan, and then I just picked out some different colours from my collection of paints, which I think will work quite well. So I've got a stone grey here, I have got a Humbrol acrylic number 27, which is just a darker grey. I've got a Humbrol acrylic number 70, which is a brick, and I've got a Tamiya 51, which is khaki drab. So all I'm going to do is take each of those colours. I'm going to take a really fine paintbrush, and I'm just going to pick out random stones all the way down and paint them. It's basically going to look just kind of like a spotty effect, and it's not going to look right, but just bear with me on this one and it will all come together. So I'm going to use them 4 colours. I'm going to get them all dotted on, picked out each of the individual stones, and then I'll come back and show you what happens next. Okay, so I've worked my way along that entire side of the platform, the stone platform, and it just has those 4 different colours, and I've just added lots and lots of dots, random dots all the way along. As I say, it looks ridiculous at this point in time, but it's completely going to be transformed just by using this. So this is my black wash that I've used on the other platform. So it's just black paint, a little bit of roof grime, and also some water. And all I'm going to do is get it generously on the brush, and if you just watch this, rub it along, and it instantly transforms that stonework. So it's quite loose as a wash, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing here, and just getting that on, and it instantly transforms that stonework. Now I'm going to give this probably 3 coats of this black wash, and you will, if you just stick with it, just give it a coat, leave it to dry, give it another coat, you will end up with stone that looks like this back wall does here. If you find it gets too dark, just to add some water, it's only acrylic paint, it'll come off. If it's not dark enough, just add another coat of the wash and keep doing that until you get to the colour that you want. And that black wash is just going to soak into all the crevices. It's going to tone down how bright the wall was before. So this colour here will be toned down, which means that it'll also tone down these spots as well. So again, it's just a case of getting some wash and keep putting it on. Now I do this on an angle so that it naturally runs down, because that's what weathering would do anyway, and grime and streaks and so on. But just keep doing it. I'm going to give this 2 coats, and then I'm going to come back to you and show you what it looks like. And there it is, the finished concrete and the back, and finished painted stone at the front. And you can see just what a difference just putting that wash, that black wash on there. I've given that 2 coats. I want it to look quite grimy, obviously, there's trains running by all the time, and I'm really pleased with how that has turned out. So if you remember how bright it was for you just a few minutes ago, when I was putting all those bright dots on, but how that black wash really tones it all down. So we're getting there, we're almost where we need to be. Next job is the scale model scenery platform edges, the network rail coping. I've cut out a load of them, and these are basically going to be put, if I grab just one, grab this, on here. So that's going to sit just on the edge like that. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus a little better. And that's just going to sit on the edge like that, and then you end up with a white edge, and that just is going to wrap underneath there like that. I find the easiest way to attach these is with some good old glue stick. Yoo-hoo glue sticks are the ones that I use. I just like them, they just work pretty easy, and they're pretty easy to get hold of in bulk online. I did mess up and ordered some of these ones, which are the little small ones. I normally order the ones that are much thicker, but actually, because of the size these are, they're pretty much the right size. So I will get a bit of plastic that I use to glue on, get the glue on this and get these all in place. Now remember, where my platforms are going to be, I'm obviously not going to need edging on this side, because this is where the station building is going to be, on this side. So on this middle platform here, we're going to need it on both sides, because it's an island platform, and then on this platform here, we're only going to need it on the side where the trains are going to be. Now eventually there'll be station buildings and walls and so on down this side, but I haven't got that far ahead yet. This is just about getting the platforms in, so that I'm not hitting them and derailing trains all the time. So let me get these glued on, and I will come back and show you the final step after that's done. And there we are. So that is the network rail platform, edging, coping, stones all installed, and as you can see, that just tidies that up really nicely. The last thing that there is to add onto these is a yellow warning line to run down the edge of this edge in here. Now this is N gauge and everything is absolutely tiny. Just as a reminder, craft knife, blade of the craft knife, and you can see how small this is. So I could attempt with a yellow paintbrush, well, not a yellow paintbrush, a paintbrush with yellow paint on it, or a yellow pen or something like that, to draw a line, but I think we all know how that will end. Disaster. So a little hunt around on the internet, and I found these scale model scenery, realistic road markings, self-adhesive UK road markings, double yellow line. And I thought, that sounds like a good idea. And it was. They work. I'm amazed when a plan comes together. So this is them, and it's basically a sheet of self-adhesive yellow lines. Now these yellow lines are absolutely tiny, and my big concern was they were going to be fastened together in twos, but they're not. They're individual yellow lines. You just put two next to each other, and it comes with the end bits. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick this up or not, but and obviously all I want is these long lines. Now I'm just going to use the knife, got a dirty blade, just to set one off so you can see just how small these are. And typically I get 5 and I only want 1, so that's them. That is how, hopefully you can see that on my thumb, how small they are. There's the tip of the blade, just to give you an idea of how tiny they are. But these are really easy to work with, and of course they go around any angle, so if your platform's curved, you could use them on there as well. And all I'm going to do is just peel that off and stick it down, as I say, self-adhesive right up to this edge here, which means that 1, I get a yellow warning line, and 2, it hides the white edge of where I've cut out this from the sheets as well. So it's perfect. So I'm going to get these stuck on. I'm not going to show you me doing that because I can guarantee you I'll mess it up the minute I do it on camera. But one thing I did want to point out that I just missed from the last clip is when you're attaching this on here, the reason I use the glue stick is because when you put the glue stick on, it actually makes the paper go a little bit soggy, and that's good because that means we can manipulate it into the shape we want. So what I do is I put it on, fold it round, and then I use the side of my thumbnail and my finger, and I just rub along the edge like that, and it tucks the paper. Now if you remember, we cut that paper down to be only 3mm instead of 6, so it fits nicely underneath the platform now, that white edge. So let me get those yellow lines on, and then once those yellow lines are on, I'm going to get these glued down, left overnight, and we'll come back at a later stage and add some more detail in and so on. But not bad work for the day, because that will be the platforms done. So I will catch up with you soon. Okay, so that's all the yellow stripes on, and these have actually had overnight to dry now, so you can see the stone effect that we have there, and you can also see the concrete effect that we have on here as well. Now last night when I was finishing work on these, before I'd stuck them down, I had another quick look at them to make sure I was happy with them, and decided I wasn't. Basically because of the structure of these, and because of the length of them as well, they're a little bit flimsier than I would have liked them to have been, and they had also sunk just a tiny bit in the middle. It wasn't a huge amount, and I'm not even sure you would notice it until I edit this video and put all the clips together. I'll not know whether you can, how noticeable it is, but bearing in mind I'm going to be putting a canopy and building lights and all kinds of things in this, I decided it needed to be made a little bit stronger. So I've had a play around. This one is done, and this one just needs doing. So all I thought I would do is just pack it out underneath with a little bit of foam. Cut the foam because there's a little gap under there and a little gap under there, slot the foam in, and job will be a good one. Despite the fact I've got the biggest pile of offcuts of foam and insulation and packaging, nothing's the right thickness. It's always the way, isn't it? So what I've worked out is the best thing to do is basically to take a piece of foam, that the nearest I had, and then I've made it up with grey board so it's the right thickness. So for me, for the height I needed, it's a piece of 2mm grey board and a piece of foam there as well, 8mm foam. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue that into the bottom there, and then put a little bit more glue on, and then that will just push in. I don't want to do it because I'm not going to get it back out, but push it into there, push it in under there, and then that really does make a difference. That is one that I've already done. It's so much more solid than this one is. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get them glued down, and then again I'm going to leave them overnight. I'm going to move on to something else and come back to these tomorrow when hopefully they will be finished, and I can show you some trains running through the platforms. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It's always good to hear what you think, any ideas you have, any ideas for weathering these platforms and take them to the next step. And please, if it's your first time here, do subscribe. It's great to see so many new subscribers, and I thank you all for your support. So thanks guys, take care, and chat to you again soon. Bye bye.